Today I want to talk with you about the necessity of having a sense of morality in the way that we engage with one another. And basically, as we interact, whether it's inside a family or business or friendship or wherever it is, we want to know that there's some sort of a code of conduct that guides us so that we just don't go helter-skelter on everybody, on each other. When we talk about morality, we're talking about your system of values and principles of conduct. We're talking about what you consider to be acceptable. Morality is an indication of what you carry down at the core of your character. It involves your integrity, your sense of ethics. Now, many times people think of moral individuals in terms of the way that they manage themselves sexually and how they engage with others in that category, and certainly that's a part of it, but it's so much bigger than that. I mean, it's the way that you treat people in public, how you manage money, how you handle your priorities, those kind of things. And basically, morality is how you define goodness. Now, let's talk about morality as it relates to the narcissistic individual. And I want to see if we can kind of go through some notions about what constitutes narcissism. And as we do so, I want to talk about how it relates to their understanding of morality, because I can promise you it's not the same as what the average Joe or Jane out there is going to be thinking. Now, let's keep in mind that two of the most favorite words that a narcissist might have are the words, I know. Now, we're already on slippery ground right there. The narcissist likes to say, yeah, I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And I need to make sure that everybody else knows how much I know. And so when they come at you with this sense of knowing how life is supposed to be, it's fed by a self-centered mindset. They're very impressed with themselves. They see themselves as quite special. So their morality is going to be influenced by their attitude of entitlement, their insensitivity towards others because, well, theirs is the only opinion in the room that matters. They need to be superior, which is their way of saying they need to be the ultimate authority. They don't receive input, so when you want to talk about what's right and what's wrong and what's integrous and ethical, it's like, I make up those rules, not you. So you already have a beginning point with their sense of morality that's off on the wrong foot. Narcissists see themselves as enlightened. They see themselves as so special that your thoughts or your needs or your understanding of right and wrong is always going to be considered secondary. Narcissists have poor listening skills. They don't have good, strong empathy. They don't really have concern about the impact of their behaviors on others. They don't have a sense of objectivity. It shifts based on whatever their needs of the moment might require. And so it's frustrating when you try to figure out what the moral code is going to be because they, like I say, they don't really see themselves as team players. Now, interestingly, narcissists also have just certain notions about the difference between you and them. For example, if you do something wrong, you need to apologize. But then they think, but if I do something wrong, well, that's different. I don't have to apologize. If you do something wrong, you need to seek my forgiveness. If I do something wrong, I don't need your forgiveness. If you tell lies, then that's awful. But if I tell lies, well, it's not really a lie. There's other things that you just don't understand. It's different. Or it may be that you withhold truth and they just get all over your case. But if they withhold truth, then that's different because you're just not enlightened enough. They have these double standards that they operate with. And of course, you're going to be on the low end of that one, where they may say rules really are a necessary part of life. And it's my job to make sure you follow the rules. So even if you see them as being arrogant or haughty, in their mind, they think, well, actually, that's okay. I don't mind if you think of me as arrogant and haughty. It just proves that you're not on my level. Now, it's terribly frustrating when you recognize, hey, look, I'm just trying to come up with a system of living and engaging so that we can have a sense of fair and square engagement with one another. And they're operating on a whole different level. So you're going to need to hold that in mind. So I want to go through several primary truths that are a part or that are part of that person's sense of morality, so that as you're engaging with them, you can see it and understand some of the fallacies that are there, and then learn to separate yourself off from that. For example, let's keep in mind, this is just a primary truth about narcissists. For the narcissist, morality begins not with an appeal to a transcendent pattern of thinking. In other words, there's something bigger going on here than just me. Narcissist's sense of morality is based on what I want in the moment. That's how they think. Narcissists do appreciate rules, but then they focus on the rules that will apply to you. And so their sense of morality means that they need to keep you in line. That's how they operate. Narcissists, they honestly do not see themselves as manipulative. When they try to force you to do their bidding, whether it's withholding affection or being demanding or giving threats and things like that, they don't see themselves as manipulative. They're just trying to achieve conformity. Now, they won't call it conformity, but they just want to have harmony. But what it means is you do what they want. Narcissists don't hear you when you attempt to call them out on their inconsistencies. When you say that they're being inconsistency, their response is, you just don't get it. And so the problem is with you. Narcissists are concerned when they suffer, and so they consider that to be a part of a moral breakdown on your part, but they don't really have a lot of concern when you suffer. And so if you come along and say, hey, you're creating some suffering over here with me, their natural reaction is going to be, well, what did you do wrong this time? Narcissists, when they're clearly wrong, they blame. Or when they're clearly wrong, they rewrite the rule book. That's how they operate. With a narcissist, it's all about the mask. Their moral compass is based not on that transcendent thought about what is good and what is right, but their moral compass is based on finding supply. They're concerned with being admired. They like money or power or having the right kind of contacts. And so that can kind of come and go. And so their moral compass is based on trying to figure out how they can achieve those things and gain the inside track in those kinds of matters. So when people come into my counseling office and they say, I can't engage with that person. I just don't have an ability to get traction. Well, it's because their moral code is completely wrong. And then they have all of these rationalizations that go along with it that make them impossible to coordinate with. So knowing this, let's come up with a few thoughts here in terms of how you want to respond inwardly. And first and foremost, let's just go ahead and say, don't let the narcissist be the one to write your rule book. I've heard so many stories of inconsistency. Let's suppose that you have one member of the family that says, in this family, we have to be very, very tight and careful with the way that we manage money. And then they go off and buy something really expensive. And then when you come along and buy something inexpensive, they're all over your case. It's like every time I try to come up with telling you what's right and wrong, you just go blow it. And then when you point out, well, you did it, but 5 times more than I did, it's like it's not the same thing. So when you allow them to write your rule book right up front, you realize these people aren't looking at things from a very reasoned kind of way, and it's just called crazy making. Well, what that means is you'll need to go ahead and learn determine what your own inner code is going to be. And there's one primary thing you want to be careful about. If you have that narcissistic individual who's constantly trying to tell you what's right and what's good and what's appropriate, eventually the anger can build on the inside of you and you can turn into a really rebellious kind of person. And even in your rebellion and you're acting out and you're doing all sorts of things to prove to that narcissist that they can't control you, that narcissist actually is in control because you're still feeding off of their initiatives and you're feeding off of their ideas. Slow down, regardless of what that narcissist thinks or feels or believes about you and how you're supposed to act. Go ahead and determine, well, what's my code? and who do I want to be? And rather than acting in a rebellious kind of way, or collapsing, or just feeling totally defeated, make sure that you have a good sense of what you believe to be right and wrong. And then another primary thought, and that is, don't ever assume that a narcissist is going to hear your arguments. They won't. It'd be like banging your head against a brick wall. And so rather than going into a discussion or a debate about who's correct and who's incorrect, just live out your correctness, and they're going to be what they are, and acknowledge that and factor that in. And then finally, you want to have a sense of separation from them. Now, sometimes you just need to get away from them altogether, but if that's not possible, you want to separate yourself mentally and philosophically and go back to your basics. So you get to ask your question, what does integrity mean to me? And then when you look over at that narcissistic individual who says, well, and let's see, let me figure out what's going on today, and then I'll tell you what integrity and ethics means to be today, because it's all based on their need of the moment. Don't play off of them. Realize they're in their own separate orbit. They're in their own separate pattern. You need to separate off, and you need to be your own distinct individual. Now, let's keep in mind a mantra that I maintain. Dr. C, DRC, stands for dignity, respect, and civility. And I'm hoping that you can base your sense of morality on principles such as that. That's what I mean when I say transcendent thinking. There's something bigger going on here, and I want to lean into that. The narcissist, they'll just roll their eyes and say, yeah, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, fine, that's where they are. Make sure that you have a well-grounded sense of direction. I do hope that videos such as this will stimulate good thinking for you and help you understand what it might be that you're up against in some of these troubled relationships. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button that's directly below. In addition, I would encourage you to go check out our website, survivingnarcissism.tv, and you'll see extra bonus articles and videos and promotions. We have quizzes on there. It's pretty interesting. Go check it out and see if you find some things that are of interest to you, and I think it'll help you understand the subject of narcissism even more fully. Many people, and we found, have found that our link below for online counseling can be very helpful. Many of you may have schedules or the inability to go to brick and mortar kind of places, but we have counseling services that are available online, and I would encourage you, if you need someone to help you unpack things such as this, make yourself available to that. We have my online workshops, links to my books, and even coffee mugs. Now, let's keep in mind that it's so essential for you to have a well-defined scheme about who you're going to be, and I hope that that's something that you can anchor down on and feel right and good about, even if that narcissist is over there thinking you're crazy. It's like, consider the source. Will you do that?